The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my old Ford struggling to keep up. I am Barnaby, a mechanic in my early 40s, living in a small town called Havenwood, nestled in the heart of Pennsylvania. Life wasn't always easy, but it was good. I had a steady job at the local garage, a cozy house with a porch swing I'd built myself, and a wife, Genevieve, whom I loved more than words could say. Or so I thought. Genevieve was a kindergarten teacher with a smile that could light up a room and a heart as big as the sky. We'd been together for 15 years, married for 12. We'd met at a local fair, a chance encounter that felt like destiny. I was drawn to her warmth, her infectious laughter, and the way she looked at the world with such wonder. She, in turn, said she loved my calloused hands, my quiet strength, and the way I could fix anything. We were a perfect match, or so I believed. Lately, though, things had started to feel different. Genevieve had become distant, preoccupied. She'd spend hours on her phone, giggling and whispering, then quickly shutting it off when I entered the room. Her excuses were always vague, just catching up with friends, or planning a surprise for you. I wanted to believe her, but a nagging feeling kept creeping into my mind, a feeling I couldn't shake. It started subtly. She began staying late at school more often, claiming she had extra work to do. Then came the weekends she spent helping a colleague with some project or another. I tried to be understanding, supportive even, but the constant absences were taking their toll. Our dinners became silent affairs, our shared laughter replaced by an uncomfortable tension. One evening I decided to surprise her at school. I brought her favorite coffee and a small bouquet of sunflowers, hoping to brighten her day. As I approached her classroom, I heard voices, hushed and intimate. I peered through the window and my heart stopped. Genevieve was standing close to a younger man with slick-back hair and a confident smirk. It was Tristan, the new music teacher. They were laughing, their faces inches apart. He reached out and brushed a stray strand of hair from her cheek, and she didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned into his touch, her eyes sparkling with a light I hadn't seen in years, a light that used to be reserved for me. I stood there frozen, the coffee and flowers slipping from my grasp. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, and a cold wave of nausea washed over me. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think. I could only feel the crushing weight of betrayal. I stumbled back to my truck, my mind reeling. How could this be happening? How could the woman I loved, the woman I'd built my life around, be doing this to me? I drove home in a daze, the rain mirroring the tears streaming down my face. I parked the truck in the driveway and sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the house that was no longer a home. When Genevieve finally arrived, she seemed surprised to see me already there. "Barnaby, honey, you're home early," she said, her voice a little too bright, a little too cheerful. "How was your day?" I couldn't pretend any longer. The hurt, the anger, the disbelief, it all came pouring out. "Who was that man, Genevieve?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The one you were with at school." "Tristan, right? The music teacher." Her face paled. She stammered, "Barnaby, it's not what you think." "Then what is it, Genevieve?" I demanded. "Tell me, because what I saw looked a lot like you and him together." She started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated, my voice rising. "You call that a mistake? You were laughing, Genevieve. You were touching. That didn't look like a mistake to me." She tried to reach for me, but I recoiled. "Don't," I said, my voice cold. "Don't touch me." That night was a blur of accusations, denials, and tears. Genevieve confessed to the affair, claiming it had only been going on for a few weeks. She said she was confused, that she felt like she was missing something in our marriage. She swore she loved me, that she wanted to make things right, but the damage was done. The trust was broken. I couldn't look at her without seeing her with him. I couldn't hear her voice without wondering if she was lying. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by a stranger I didn't recognize. I spent the next few weeks in a state of shock, moving through the motions of life but feeling nothing. I went to work, I ate, I slept, but I was just a shell of my former self. I couldn't bring myself to talk to Genevieve. We lived in the same house, but we were miles apart. I confided in my best friend, Quentin, who worked as a carpenter. He was a good man, a loyal friend, and he listened patiently as I poured out my heart. He offered advice, but mostly he just listened, which was exactly what I needed. "You deserve better, Barnaby," he said one day, his voice firm. "You're a good man and you don't deserve to be treated like this. You need to do what's best for you even if it hurts." His words resonated with me. I knew he was right. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I had to move on to find a way to heal and rebuild my life. I decided to file for divorce. Genevieve was devastated. She begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to do whatever it took to win me back, but I couldn't. The thought of her with Tristan, of her lying to me, was too much to bear. The divorce was finalized a few months later. It was a painful process, filled with legal battles and emotional turmoil. We divided our assets, sold the house, and went our separate ways. I moved into a small apartment above the garage, a temporary space while I figured out my next move. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the familiar routine of fixing cars. The greasy engines, the sound of tools, the satisfaction of solving a mechanical problem, it all helped to distract me from the pain. I also started running, pounding the pavement until my body ached and my mind was clear. One day, a woman brought her car into the garage. Her name was Audry and she was a veterinarian. She was kind, intelligent, and had a warm smile that reminded me of Genevieve but without the hidden darkness. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her easygoing nature and her genuine interest in my life. We started spending time together, going for hikes, grabbing coffee, and talking for hours. Audrey was a breath of fresh air, a reminder that there was still goodness in the world. She didn't judge me for my past and she didn't try to fix me. She simply accepted me for who I was. As I spent more time with Audrey, I started to heal. The pain of Genevieve's betrayal began to fade, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. I realized that I deserved to be happy, that I deserved to be with someone who loved and respected me. One evening, as we were sitting on a park bench watching the sunset, Audrey turned to me and said, "Barnaby, I've really enjoyed getting to know you. You're a good man and you deserve to be happy." I took her hand and looked into her eyes. "Audrey," I said, "I feel the same way about you. You've helped me through a really tough time and I don't know what I would have done without you." We kissed, a gentle, tentative kiss that felt like a new beginning. It wasn't the passionate, all-consuming love I'd felt with Genevieve, but it was something real, something honest, something built on trust and respect. I knew that I would never forget Genevieve, that the scars of her betrayal would always be a part of me. But I also knew that I couldn't let her define my future. I had to move on, to embrace the possibility of happiness, to find love again. Life is full of surprises, some good, some bad. But it's how we choose to respond to those surprises that defines us. I chose to forgive, to heal, and to open my heart to new possibilities. And in doing so, I found a happiness I never thought possible. But the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I received a phone call from an unfamiliar number. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello," I said. "Barnaby, it's Genevieve." The voice on the other end said. My heart sank. I hadn't spoken to her since the divorce was finalized. "What do you want, Genevieve?" I asked, my voice cold. "I need your help," she said, her voice trembling. I hesitated. "Why would I help you, Genevieve?" "After everything you've done, please, Barnaby," she begged. "It's about Tristan." My curiosity piqued. I agreed to meet her at a local coffee shop. When I arrived, she was already there, looking pale and distraught. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice guarded. "Tristan, he left me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "He said he never really loved me, that he was just using me." I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I quickly suppressed it. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. "I don't know what to do, Barnaby," she said. "I've lost everything, my husband, my home, my reputation. I'm all alone." I took a deep breath. "Genevieve," I said, "I am sorry for what you're going through, but I can't help you. You made your choices and now you have to live with the consequences." I stood up to leave, but she grabbed my hand. "Please, Barnaby," she said. Just listen. He didn't just leave. He took all my savings, all the money from our joint account. He cleaned me out." My eyes widened in surprise. Tristan had not only broken her heart but also stolen her money. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I know you're a good man, Barnaby," she said. "And I know you can help me get my money back." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to walk away, to leave her to suffer the consequences of her actions. But another part of me, the part that still cared about her, couldn't bear to see her completely destroyed. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. Genevieve explained that she had no proof of Tristan's theft, that he had covered his tracks well. She needed someone to investigate, to find evidence that could be used to recover her money. I was reluctant, but I agreed to help her. Not because I wanted to save her, but because I wanted to see Tristan brought to justice. He had hurt Genevieve, but he had also disrespected me, and I couldn't let him get away with it. I used my connections in town to gather information about Tristan. I learned that he had a history of scamming women, that he was a smooth talker who preyed on vulnerable individuals. With the help of Quentin, who had some experience in computer security, we managed to hack into Tristan's email account. We found a series of incriminating messages, detailing his plans to steal Genevieve's money and disappear. We took the evidence to the police, who launched an investigation. Tristan was eventually arrested and charged with fraud and theft. He was convicted and sentenced to several years in prison. Genevieve was able to recover most of her money, but the experience had changed her. She was humbled, remorseful, and determined to rebuild her life. I didn't forgive her completely, but I did offer her a measure of compassion. We remained civil, occasionally exchanging pleasantries when we ran into each other in town. As for me, I continued to build my life with Audry. Our relationship deepened, and we eventually got married. We bought a small farm outside of town, where we raised animals and grew our own food. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience with Genevieve, that love is not always enough. Trust, respect, and honesty are essential ingredients for a successful relationship. And that sometimes, the best thing you can do is to let go of the past and embrace the possibility of a brighter future. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I had managed to hit it out of the park. I had found love again, and I was happier than I had ever been. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. The rain has stopped now, and the sun is shining through the clouds. I can hear Audry calling me from the garden, her laughter echoing through the air. It's time to go inside to be with the woman I love, to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. And as I walk towards the house, I can't help but smile, grateful for the journey that has brought me to this moment. One evening, while working late at the garage, a familiar car pulled up. It was Genevieve. She looked older, more worn, but her eyes still held a glimmer of the woman I once knew. "Barnaby, can we talk?" she asked, her voice hesitant. I sighed and wiped my hands on a rag. "What is it, Genevieve?" I wanted to thank you," she said, avoiding my gaze. "For helping me with Tristan. I don't know what I would have done without you. You would have managed," I replied, my tone neutral. "No, I wouldn't have," she insisted. "I was lost, broken. You gave me a chance to start over. I didn't do it for you, Genevieve," I said, my voice firm. "I did it because Tristan deserved to be punished." She nodded, understanding. "I know, but still, thank you." There was an awkward silence between us, filled with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. "How are you doing, Barnaby?" she finally asked. "I'm good, Genevieve," I said, smiling. "I'm happy." Her eyes flickered to my wedding ring. "Audry seems like a wonderful woman." "She is," I said, my voice filled with warmth. "She's everything I ever wanted." Genevieve looked down at her hands, her expression a mixture of sadness and regret. "I messed up, Barnaby," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I threw away something precious." "Yes, you did," I said, my voice gentle. "But you can't change the past. You can only learn from it." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. "I hope you can find happiness, Genevieve," I said. "You deserve it." She nodded and turned to leave. "Genevieve," I called out. She stopped and looked back at me. "Take care of yourself," I said. She smiled, a sad, wistful smile. "You too, Barnaby," she said, and then she was gone. I watched her drive away, a wave of emotions washing over me. Sadness, regret, forgiveness, and finally peace. I turned back to my work, the sound of the garage filling the silence. Life goes on, I thought. We make mistakes, we learn, we grow. And sometimes we find happiness in the most unexpected places. As I worked, I thought about Audry, about our life together, about the love we shared. I knew that I had found my true happiness, and I was grateful for every moment. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garage. I finished my work and locked up for the night. As I walked towards my apartment, I saw Audry waiting for me on the porch. "Hey, honey," she said, smiling. "How was your day?" "It was good," I said, taking her in my arms. Just like any other day, we kissed, a long, lingering kiss filled with love and affection. "I love you, Audry," I said. "I love you too, Barnaby," she said. We walked inside, hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future held together. And as I closed the door behind us, I knew that I was finally home. Time continued its steady march. Audry and I settled into a comfortable rhythm, our love deepening with each passing year. We expanded our farm, adding more animals and planting a larger garden. Life was simple, but it was good. One spring day, I received a letter in the mail. The return address was unfamiliar. Curious, I opened it. It was from Genevieve. "Dear Barnaby," it read. "I hope this letter finds you well. I know it's been a long time, but I wanted to share some news with you. I'm getting married." I paused, surprised by the announcement. "His name is Gareth," the letter continued. "He's a good man, kind and honest. We met at a support group for people who have made mistakes in their past. He understands me and he accepts me for who I am." I smiled, genuinely happy for her. "I wanted you to know that I'm finally happy, Barnaby," the letter continued. "I've learned from my mistakes and I'm grateful for the second chance I've been given. I hope you and Audry are doing well. I wish you both all the best." The letter was signed, Genevieve. I showed the letter to Audry. "That's wonderful," she said, smiling. "I'm glad she's found happiness." "Me too," I said. I realized that I had finally let go of the past, that I had forgiven Genevieve completely. I held no resentment, no anger, only a sense of peace. I wrote a short note back to Genevieve, congratulating her on her upcoming marriage and wishing her well. I mailed the letter and then turned my attention back to Audry and our life together. As the years passed, Audry and I continued to build our life on the farm. We welcomed grandchildren into the world, and our love grew stronger with each passing day. I often thought about Genevieve, wondering how she was doing. I hoped that she had found the happiness she deserved. One autumn evening, as I sat on the porch with Audry, watching the sunset, I realized how far I had come. I had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and loss, but I had also found love, forgiveness, and peace. Life is a journey, filled with ups and downs, twists and turns. But it's how we navigate those challenges that defines us. I had learned to embrace the present, to cherish the moments I had with Audry, and to be grateful for the life I had been given. And as I looked at Audry, her eyes sparkling in the fading light, I knew that I had finally found my forever home. Years later, I received another letter. This time, it was from Gareth. He informed me that Genevieve had passed away after a long illness. He wanted me to know that she had spoken of me fondly and that she had always regretted the pain she had caused. I felt a pang of sadness, but also a sense of closure. Genevieve was finally at peace. I attended her funeral along with Audry. I paid my respects to Gareth and offered my condolences. As I stood by her graveside, I remembered the good times we had shared, the laughter, the love, the dreams we had once had. I whispered a silent goodbye to Genevieve, and then I turned and walked away, hand in hand with Audry. Life is fleeting, precious, and unpredictable. We must cherish every moment and live each day to the fullest. I had learned that lesson the hard way, but I was grateful for the journey that had brought me to where I was today. And as I walked away from the cemetery, I knew that Genevieve would always be a part of my story, but she would no longer define it. My story was now about love, forgiveness, and the enduring power of the human spirit. And as I looked at Audry, her eyes filled with love and compassion, I knew that I had finally found my happily ever after.